Welcome to the second video in our 3-6 series. In our last video, we looked at some characteristics that were specific to a quadratic function. In this case, we're going to look at a characteristic that is specific to an exponential function. An exponential function is going to have something called an asymptote. And what an asymptote is a line the curve approaches but does not actually touch as it heads away from the origin. It's going to be where our exponential function is getting really close to, but it's never going to actually touch that value or cross over that value. Every exponential function that you'll ever see will have a horizontal asymptote. Functions of the form y equals a times b raised to the x power, where we don't have any shifts up or down or left or right or anything like that, is always going to have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0, also known as the x-axis. And we can see that in our illustration here with the dotted blue exponential function. It's going to get closer and closer and closer to that y equals 0 line, but you're going to see that it starts to level off, and it's never going to actually quite reach that line right there. So our asymptote in this case would be y equals 0, that line that goes straight horizontally across there, and that function will get really close to that line but never actually touch it. Now, any time that we are going to have a vertical shift on our exponential function, that's going to also shift the asymptote in whichever manner we are doing the shifting. So remember, we do a vertical shift by adding or subtracting a number at the end of the function, and what we're going to do is whatever we are adding or subtracting, it's going to move the asymptote the same way. So for example, if we had a vertical shift of 3, like in the example y equals 2 raised to the x power plus 3, we would take that original asymptote that was down here at 0, and since this is shifting the whole function up 3, our asymptote would shift up to 3 as well. So our new asymptote would be y is equal to 3, and that would be for this function right here. So anytime that we're asked to write a horizontal asymptote, it should always be written as an equation, and it's always going to be a horizontal line, so it's going to be of the form y equals c, where c is whatever that value is that we are shifting the function by. If it's positive, it would be a positive c. If we're shifting down, it would be a negative c. That c is just going to be the value of our vertical translation. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example. In example 2, we are given a graph and asked to find the asymptote. So we are looking for the line that this is going to get really close to but not actually touch. So to help me do that, I'm just going to draw a line here to just kind of give us a visual image. And I'm going to drag that line until it looks like it's starting to level out and get to that point where we're getting really close to but not touching. So if we go to the point here, it looks like our line is getting very close to that but not actually touching that green line. So we're going to say that that's going to be our asymptote. Remember, we need to write this in the function in the form y equals, where that equals is just going to be whatever number that it is that we're getting close to but not actually touching. So in this case it was -1, so our asymptote would be y equals -1. In our second example, example 3, we are asked to find it just from an equation and we aren't given a graph. Now remember, we said that anything that was in the parent form had an asymptote y equals 0. So if we were looking at just y equals 3 to the x, that asymptote would be y equals 0. But then we talked about vertical translations, that whatever we were shifting the graph up by would be our new asymptote. So in this case, we are shifting up 4. So that's going to shift our asymptote up 4. So instead of y equals 0, our asymptote would be matching up with that c value, which was a positive 4. So our new asymptote would be y equals 4. Alright, that wraps up this video. You guys give the You Try problems an attempt. Check your answers on the webpage and come back for video 3. See you guys then.